When you say that you don't fit in, you sound corny, but there's really no other way to describe the feeling of being disconnected from your peers and really just not having the same interests. With social media, it seems like we have, curated a life that's supposed to be socially acceptable. And obviously, there are differences amongst people. There are different niches or styles that you can fit into, but for me, I've never really fit into any particular crowd. And I've always just found myself to be distant. And I really care and am really passionate about the things that I care and am passionate about, but that doesn't really align with most other people. And so, yeah, I think since maybe I was 15 or 16, I'm 22 now, I stopped fitting in, and it feels both peaceful and there's like a yearning to connect. Somehow those things simultaneously coexist. I know it's paradoxical, but it's true. When you don't, on a fundamental level, have the same desires as other people, your actions are going to be very different. They're going to be striving for, you know, social validation, acceptance from the crowd. They're going to strive for having fun. I think that's what the biggest differentiation between me and the rest of my generation is. A lot of people are focused on having fun, and I'm not going to shame anybody for anything. We have different walks of life. But for me, somebody who has almost no fun in my life, I I just can't relate. I don't have this like seeping desire where it's like, oh, I need to go out to the bars this weekend, or like right now Coachella's going on. I really don't have a desire to go to these places. Now, once again, I'm not shaming the people that do, but it's just not in my heart to, like, I can't fake wanting to do that stuff. And what sucks is I'm still would like to be I would still like to be a social person. I would still like to go out and hang out with people, but it's just I just don't my personality doesn't match. I just don't naturally feel like I belong in those crowds, and because of that, you're kind of forced into a corner, and it is what it is. But long term, this has psychological effects. I mean, if you're constantly behind, if you not behind, but if you're constantly on a different path, what you'll start to see is that the grass behind you is still green. It's still grass. And then what I mean by that is, the other paths are more worn down. By now they're just dirt because so many people have walked them, which means that you have company. But one of the beautiful things about being alone is that you can experience some of the coolest parts of life. I think a lot of the coolest parts of life are spent alone, learning who you are as a person, developing in your faith, trying to build who you are. All of that is done alone. The most important things are done alone. And then once you self-actualize, once you figure out who you are, and you work towards building the foundations of your morals, your ethics, what you believe, that's when you can then bring in other people, hopefully who are also similar to you in those ways, and then things start to add up. But the problem with me is I can't even really meet those type of people. And listen, I know I stay in my basement, for most of my time, and one day that will change. But what happens is when you're so aware of a lot of the stuff that's going on, like, you overanalyze things way too much. You start to question everything, and then it creates a distance from you and other people that can just sort of exist or have fun or do things without really ever second guessing. I've seen this pattern over and over again. The happiest people that I know are the ones that never really they're this sounds bad, but they're kind of shallow. They don't, because they lack the depth, they can't experience self-doubt, they can't experience like deep levels of suffering or sorrow. Actually, I shouldn't say they can't, but it's much less common. And part of me has always been jealous of that. I have a friend of mine. He is extremely intelligent, but he's not really like that. He's not a deep thinker. Like, he's a smart guy. When push comes to shove, he can do something, but he never overanalyzes anything. He just appreciates every moment for what it is, and I mean that in a good way. And I've always been envious of that. When we were kids and we would have sports tryouts to make the team where you would actually get cut, he was never nervous. He just let life be what it was, and didn't expect anything from it, and he could just enjoy life. But me, even from a young age, I was like, how, bro, how are you doing this? It's so, just doesn't add up. And it's impressive, and I am envious of these people. But yeah, what happens is, because they don't overthink anything, they often just follow the crowd because it's easier. And then when they follow the crowd, they kind of lose their identity. They never have their identity. They just have to pretend to be someone else. I think identity is, one of the most important things that you have, that you own, that you get to curate. And for people that don't hold that close and just let it be as it is, it's tough, because, like, what are you gonna do when you're not around your friends anymore, when you grow up and you separate from other people? It's like, who are you? You don't even know anymore. But there's a lot of pleasure in it at the time being. Like, you can just kind of exist, and nothing bad happens because you're not expecting anything. And crowds follow this, so you're not going to be lonely when you go through this, because the shallow end has the most amount of people. So I don't mean this video to sound like I'm superior, or if you have experienced loneliness, you're superior either. It's just the reality. As somebody who watches all this stuff unfold on social media and stuff, it's kind of exhausting, especially when you're working so hard on yourself. Because when you work hard on yourself or your goals or whatever you're doing, and then you just see a random person that who's living it up, and having a good time, and they're not working as hard. So it's weird. It's one of those things where they're not experiencing the pain of the hard work, but they're also getting the reward, and you're experiencing the pain of the hard work and you're not getting the reward. And this cycle repeats over and over again, and it drives you nuts. Like, there are so many people that I know who I grew up with, and I still have them on social media, and I see them having fun constantly. I can't even remember the last time I left my house. Now, a lot of that is self-inflicted. I won't lie to you. But it's like I was saying, I mean, I'm really focused on figuring out who I am and trying to grow my social media. And, I just started a business, and I'm working on that right now. And so my time is, like, completely cooked. But I've been doing this for the past 6 months. And it's just exhausting because I'm spending late nights. Literally, while I'm recording this right now, it's 4:45 a.m. I've been up since 9 a.m. And I have to bang out this video because it's a goal that I need to hit. And these other people, I mean, they can't even relate, and it seems so unfair. But at the same time, somebody once told me, he's like 40 years old. He told me that you don't really figure out the work that people have put in until everybody's 30. Because a lot of the times it takes a while for people to reap the benefits of their work. And so then by the time they're 30, that's when you start to see who worked hard and who just kind of had fun and partied. And I think that's something that I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that I get on the other end of it. But yeah, don't be ashamed if you don't fit in. I don't think it's worth it. I think you lose yourself in the crowd, as Soren Kierkegaard said. It certainly isn't a good place to be. It's better to be alone than in the crowd, because all the avant-gardes are the ones that we remember. The people that we look up to are the ones that had to stand out. And that's who I want to be. And I'm not that person at all right now. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's who I hope to be. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching.